Hello and welcome back to Sandras Week. This week I have had both ideas for this podcast and occasionally being completely out of ideas. But in the end it probably turned into something anyway. The secret, I think, is not to stress or push too much, not to set too high deadline and content requirements because I am not actually a company but just an ordinary private person with a small pod. This week's topics in this podcast are The Cat from Hell Part 3, Out of Ideas, Indoor Plants Have a Hard Time Surviving with Me, The Joy of Suffering in the Sufferings of Christ, Meghan Markle's Whining TV, and Patience or Not. Yeah, a mixed selections. Well, let's dive right into it. The Cat from Hell, Part 3. Yep, so week 10 with our little cutie cat Spock started with him keeping me awake until 6 a.m. Monday morning. Only after that did he think it was time to go to bed. In a way, it's lucky that I do not have to go to a regular job at 7 a.m., but at the same time, it is not quite good, of course. Out of ideas. Yeah, being out of ideas. I've heard about that, but I probably did not think I would be affected when I sit and prepare my simple little podcast. But yeah, I was. But maybe it's not so bad anyway, because it forces one to focus a little and think a little bit extra. Indoor plants have a hard time surviving with me. Yeah, indoor plants, yes. I love plants, but most indoor plants do not seem to really like me very much, because most plants die either from becoming dehydrated or through over-watering. So far, only cactuses and other green plants seem to survive with me. Not very encouraging to me. I like them so much, but they don't like me. Well, from one thing to another. The joy of suffering in the sufferings of Christ. Yeah, I just read a little sentence in a little book about Saint Therese of Lisieux. It is actually a small book, with small text every day, where Thursday's text was as follows. I value suffering more than ecstasy. I find my happiness in suffering because I do not find it anywhere else. That was the text. I think it is words worth thinking about, because you have to go a little deeper into what this young Carmelite nun really means, because suffering in itself is never joyful. But when you suffer for and or together with the one you love, the suffering becomes something completely different. It becomes an act of love, in a way. You do not suffer for the sake of suffering, or for your own sake. No, you suffer for someone else, the vicarious suffering, as Jesus did for us. And now, what's on everybody's lips? Meghan Markle's whining TV. Yeah, I just had to. I had to. We have this whining TV then. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm calling it that, but honestly, I can't call it anything else. She twists and turns the truth as it suits her, and makes her appear in better days, she thinks at least, when the truth is completely different than what she claims. To take a few examples, this with the so-called race. She says that a race question was asked during her pregnancy while titles were discussed, while Harry claims that the question was asked at the beginning of their relationship. And the question was about what skin color their child would have, because she is a bit darker and he is a little lighter in skin tone. Now, from my point of view, I think that there are many who have asked such curious questions in different families. For example, I asked a question to my big brother once when I was a teenager, when he and his wife were expecting their first child. She was dark haired and he a redhead. And then I thought about what hair color their children will have. And I just thought about it because she was very dark brown haired and he was very red haired. Kids would probably call it carrot colored hair, but I did not think that it was a race question or anything else. I just thought, will it be a blonde then? Brown, red? Will it be blonde then? Or what will it be? So it may have been a clumsy question that was perceived as a racial question. Another thing, to marry once without any witnesses, with your own vows in an unlicensed place in the Anglican Church, which is completely illegal there in England, in Great Britain, and then also to marry with witnesses according to the church's form in a licensed place in a church, for instance, which is the legal way in Britain. Which is the truth? I think the first so-called wedding was a private exchange of vows with a possible blessing, but not a wedding. And finally, this with her mental state. Yes, of course, she may have felt very bad mentally of the royal lifestyle, which she was obviously not prepared for at all. But the claims that she could not have received any help in any way, I do not believe that at all. And that Harry also would not have known how he could help her, I certainly do not believe that. Because he himself has previously claimed that shortly after and long after Princess Diana died, his mother, he has undergone a lot of therapy and received help. Even he, Prince William, and Duchess Catherine had this initiative Heads Together for mental health for a very long time. Maybe they still do. So I think he had the opportunity and contacts, besides the family in general, to help Meghan if she was really suicidal. But who am I to say? Just a thought. I think both of them can take and remove all their titles now and simply be Mr. and Mrs. Wells or Mountbatten Windsor or whatever last name they want. Period. Okay, going to the next topic. Patience or not? Well, patience or not, yeah. I have to think about it now and again this week. Sometimes and in some situations you have plenty of patience, but sometimes things just overflows like the Niagara Falls. When it's fun, interesting, exciting things it's about and fun things you remember from the past, you can have as much patience as you like. And when it comes to fixing things and solving problems that you are interested in and that feels a little rewarding, absolutely, then you have lots of patience. But then it can be someone you meet and who you just cannot handle at all due to different circumstances on a specific day, or just because that person has a personality that is too difficult for your own personality. Well, then you have no patience at all. None. Zip, zero. Nada. Then you just get a headache and get tired and you just want to go home and not think about it, not talk to that person, or no nothing. Well, thank goodness there are positive distractions then, which you can use. For instance, computer games, TV, movies, books, whatever it might be, for anyone. Well, I think that's it for this week's English version of my Swedish podcast. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you will tune in again in the next episode of Sandra's Week.